Bring it all back together again. Good. Okay, so the first time we did a close read of the picture, we noticed a boy and a dog and maybe a scarf, maybe some grass. The second time, what I heard is some of you were saying different things, like maybe they're looking at something. It looks like maybe the boy's getting ready to talk and say something. And a couple of you thought maybe they looked a little scared. Okay, and that's okay, because there's no wrong answer here, just like in lots of situations. This time I want you to kind of dig even deeper. We're going to really, really analyze the picture. What do you think's going on here? How did they get there? Why are they there? Okay? This time also when you guys are in your group, do you think you could whisper so only your group can hear you? Yeah? Okay, I want you to look a little bit deeper and try and tell me, how did they get in this situation to start with? What kind of relationship do you think he has with the dog? What kind of relationship do you think the dog has with him? And what about the picture shows you that? Okay? What do you guys think?
They have like a family bond.
A family bond?
I think that maybe they're probably like in the back taking a picture because they're looking off into take a picture.
I think their mom and dad left them.
I think they ran out in the field and sat down and saw a cow.
Anything else?
I know they saw really fast. Not really.
They're comfortable. Yeah, happy.
Maybe they feel that it's happy, like really cool. If you look at the dog close enough, you can see
Maybe
the dog.
they went out there to go take a picture.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, if you look close enough.
Position that the dog is in.
Laying down.
Laid back, kind of just.
Do you think scared dogs lay down like that?
No.
They make.
Great. So what does that tell you?
They're relaxed.
Maybe they're relaxed.
They're taking little water chips.
I don't know any dog that would do that.
Maybe they're looking at something. Good.
My dog.
My dog was treated bad.
He's so everywhere. They could so much.
Okay, what did you think?
I know.
When you dig deeper, what do you think's going on there? Is it the dog is making a really fast noise? Does that tell you anything?
My cousin, we showed the data.
Oh, interesting. Holding the dog's arm. Okay, does the dog look for her?
I just got.
Now, you kind of maybe need to know about dogs to know this, but a lot of times when dogs are willing to lay on their back like that, they're pretty chill and relaxed.
Yeah, I noticed a little knee.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay. Okay, we're going to bring it back together. So here's what I heard when I was walking around the room. Okay? We kind of talked about the relationship between the boy and the dog. That maybe the dog's posture and the way the dog's sitting in the boy's lap kind of shows that he's kind of calm and relaxed. So maybe he's not super scared. Maybe they were taking a picture. Maybe they were looking at something. I heard people say that the dog looks comfortable and that maybe they were just like had a really good bond, a really good family relationship, right? Good. So do you see that by going through and reading this 3 different times, each time we read it, we got deeper and deeper into more analyzing?
Yeah.
Good. So that brings us to what we're going to be doing today. So our goal for today is I can determine the meaning of words and phrases as they're used in a text, and I can analyze the importance of specific word choices on meaning and tone. That's our learning goal. What we're going to do with that is we are going to do another read of the landlady. So we've already read this a few times, right? We read it through a cold read with me just reading it. We read it and annotated it a little bit. And then this time we're going to go through and we're going to look for even deeper meaning and connections, just like we did with the picture. Okay? So everyone on their desk should have a copy of their own copy of the landlady. Does everyone have their own copy? Everyone also... You guys all have your own copy? Can you pass them out? Do you guys all have your own copy of the landlady? Or each have your own? Okay, everyone up. When I'm talking, you are gone. Everyone also should have a highlighter. Can you all nod if you have a highlighter? An extra copy? Can you nod if you have a highlighter? Okay. Everyone also should have a copy of the group rules. Remember when we're working in groups? What do we need to remember about working in groups? What does the G stand for?
Give thoughtful feedback.
Good. What does the R stand for? What does the O stand for?
On task at all times.
All the time. And the U?
Use thoughtful words.
So when we were doing our activity just a few minutes ago, I heard a lot of you not using soft voices. So this time we need to be really careful to use our soft voices so that I can hear when I go around and I'm talking to the group. What does the P stand for? Good. And the S? Stay with your group. Stay with your group. No one's wandering around. The other thing we're going to try and do is talk with respect when we're in our groups, right? When we're in our groups, we make sure that we talk with respect. If we need a conversation starter, we can use one of our accountable talk prompts. You all have a copy of that. There's also accountable talk prompts on the back of the board. Okay, what I need now is your undivided attention. When we're doing this lesson, no one's talking except for me, and if I come to your group, you can talk. If you're in your groups, you're whispering if I'm not talking to you. Does everyone understand the rules? Yeah. Good. So, last time we read this, you guys really, really enjoyed this story. It has a lot of suspense, right? This time we're going to look a little bit closer and dig a little bit deeper. Okay? What we're going to start with is, on your copy of The Landlady, you are going to reread the paragraph on line 2 that begins with "suddenly" in a downstairs window. Right here. Does everyone see? Can everyone point to the line that starts with "suddenly" in a downstairs window? So can you all point to where it says "suddenly" in a downstairs window? Okay. Does anyone want to volunteer to read that? You want to volunteer? Sure. Okay. William is going to volunteer to read this section. What you guys are going to be doing while William is reading is you're going to highlight all the words and phrases that the author uses to describe the bed and breakfast. Okay? Does everyone understand? Everyone has their highlighters? As William is reading, you're going to highlight the words and phrases the author uses to describe the bed and breakfast. Okay, let's get started.
Suddenly, in a downstairs window that was brilliantly illuminated by a street lamp not 6 yards away, Billy caught sight of a printed notice propped up against the glass in one of the upper panes. It said "Bed and Breakfast." There was a vase of yellow chrysanthemums, tall and beautiful, standing just underneath the notice. He stopped walking. He moved a bit closer. Green curtains, some of velvety material, were hanging down on either side of the window. I can't read that word. Looked wonderful beside them. He went right up and peered through the glass into the room, and the first thing he saw was a bright fire burning in the hearth. On the carpet in front of the fire, a pretty little Dachshund was cleared up asleep with its nose tucked into its belly. The room itself, so far as he could see in the half-darkness, was filled with pleasant furniture. There was a baby grand piano and a big sofa and several plump armchairs. And in one corner he spotted a large parrot in a cage. Animals were usually a good sign in all places like this, Billy told himself.
Good. Very good. Okay. So as I was walking around, I saw a few words and phrases that seemed like the majority of the class did highlight. So let's talk about those. Okay, first let's remember, we already read this one time, right? We already annotated the text. Now we're really going to dig deeper. Let's start with the vase of yellow chrysanthemums. First of all, does anyone know what a chrysanthemum is? Okay, yes?
It's a flower.
It's a flower? Okay, do you know what kind? What it looks like or anything?
It's a yellow.
Yep, yellow. This is a chrysanthemum.
Oh, my grandma has those.
Exactly. So now that you can see it and identify it, has anyone seen these before?
Yeah.
Maybe once.
Maybe once? Does anyone know what these symbolize? It's actually pretty interesting. So chrysanthemums symbolize optimism and joy. So it makes me wonder if Dahl, the person who wrote this story, knew that and he purposely put them in there for that. Do you think?
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know. He's the only one who would know. We'd have to ask him. Yes?
Since she is kind of evil, you have to make her scenery look kind of convincing so
Ah.
she can lure people in there.
Very interesting. So he's saying, since she's kind of evil, that we find out later in the story, maybe the author did a lot of things to make the reader think that she was full of optimism and joy and she would never stop a person, right? Good. Okay, another thing that I saw that I thought was really interesting, that all of you pretty much highlighted, is the dachshund that was curled to sleep with his nose tucked into his belly. Okay? Do you all know what a dachshund is? What is it?
A dachshund?
It's a dog. Okay, what kind of dog is it?
A dachshund?
Just shout it out.
Wouldn't that be a wiener dog?
No.
It's a wiener dog.
That's it.
Okay? Isn't it cute? Okay, so, we're going to bring it back together. Okay, so what we find out, he goes on to say that animals are usually a good sign in a place like this. So now that you've done a rereading, we know that this cute little dog was actually stuffed and not alive, right? So does that take on a new meaning? She has animals. She has the parrot. She has the dachshund. She has all these animals in there, and we now know after reading it again that they were stuffed, that they weren't, that what appeared to be a really safe space really wasn't, right? That was pretty interesting. Okay, what about these descriptions make it sound like a place that you think Billy would want to stay? I'm actually going to have you, why don't you discuss it with your group and write your answer down on the red sticky note. So what I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask you one more time. What I'm going to ask you is to infer, I want you to infer what you think Billy was thinking about this place to stay based on the descriptions. What do you infer that Billy would have taken away from these descriptions? Discuss it with your group, and you're going to write it on the red sticky note.
How he felt when he saw the interior.
Like the description.
Yeah.
Maybe he felt welcome.
Yeah, he felt maybe warm and
The dachshund is...
maybe cozy.
It was the car brand for Nissan.
Have a nice place to stay.
Okay, can I get your guys' attention real quick?
Make it on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eyes and ears on me, please. Shh. As I'm going around, I'm realizing that a lot of you maybe had forgotten what inference means. So inference is simply your best educated guess, based on the information that we've gotten. So when I ask you to infer something, I'm saying, what do you think? What's your best guess based on what we've read and what you already know before you came into this situation where you were asked to infer? Okay, so can you go back to your groups? Does anyone have a question about inference? Okay, go back to your groups then and write on the red sticky note. When your group is done, I will know you're done because you will take that red sticky note and you will stick it to the board.
Stick it to the board.
No, it's okay.
Stick it to...
What do you infer that Billy was thinking based on the descriptions about this place that he was going to stay? What do you think?
Oh my gosh, my aunt. Never mind, can't say it.
Exactly, yeah. And really cozy and comfy, maybe. I mean, it has a fireplace and there's these animals. That's literally what you guys just said.
No, it's actually...
Why does mine stink alike, huh? I will know you're done because the sticky note will be posted on the board from your group. What did you guys come up with?
Animals and flowers, so it will be a nice place.
And pretty animals, and they're all cozy.
Pretty animals.
They're cute
Okay?
Will we get free periods?
Maybe.
Yeah, William. What would you call it?
I was pointing at.
Pleasure, same thing as an